Hello and welcome to the Money Marketing Podcast. I'm Kimberly Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and we are back for another end of month podcast with the whole team. So if you guys want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lois Vallely, Chief Reporter.
Hi, Michael Klimes, Acting Editor.
JB Andrea, Reporter.
Amanda Newman-Smith, Feature Writer.
Hello, hi, I'm Mohamed Musatoué, Reporter.
Okay, fantastic. What a month July was, right?
We haven't got to the end of it yet.
We aren't, yeah, exactly. So for those of you listening, we are actually recording midway through the month because some of us decided we needed a vacation, which honestly is fine. It is fine. You should take a break. Taking breaks is good. We don't want mental breakdowns anywhere here. So yeah, we're gonna just have this podcast. But so far, July has started off quite
dramatically.
Very dramatic, yeah.
And the drama's ongoing.
Ongoing, exactly.
Who knows how it will end.
Exactly. So currently what we do know is that Boris has said that he is resigning.
Or 3 months.
Yeah. Has he resigned?
I mean, did he resign in that speech? Who knows?
I don't know. I heard that he wants 3 months because he thinks that he's going to be able to convince the Tories to keep them, which sounds very sinister.
Yeah,
he's going to convince.
He's probably hoping like they'll go on their little break and vacation, and then they'll be like, you know what?
Actually, he's not so bad.
He's not that bad. Yeah. So
that's too late for him.
So we thought that we'd mention that at the top because who knows what might have happened in the next couple of weeks. But so far, it's been a very dramatic July. And Lois, you had like contact with one of the MPs who had stepped down.
Yeah, the pensions minister, Guy Opperman, stepped down. And I wrote an article about it, and I tweeted the article saying, "Oh, who will be the next new pensions minister?" And then the next day he got reinstated. So I tweeted again saying, "Oh, that was a very short-lived article idea. Thanks, Guy Opperman." And I tweeted at him, and he responded.
What was his response?
He just said, "Sorry," and then that grimace face. And then that he was asked by the chief whip to come back short term to help with parliamentary business to sort out cost of living support and progress certain key ongoing pension projects, which lots of people are happy about because he's been pensions minister for ages, and I think he's done quite a lot of good work for pensions.
To be fair to him, he is good. But what I found extraordinary about that was not only the resignation, but I found out about that I think via also Lois, because Lois was in the tweeting stream, was Steve Webb, who's a former pensions minister, tweeted that Guy Opperman, who had been a pensions minister, then resigned, was a former pensions minister, tweeted that he's become pensions minister again. It was very, very strange. So former pensions minister Steve Webb tweets that former pensions minister Guy Opperman has now become pensions minister again in the space after resigning resigned about 24 hours ago. So it was extraordinary. I've never had that before.
I think he's only come back for sort of 10 days,
like interim.
Yeah. So a caretaking role.
So it's all very, very weird.
Might still do a Runners and Riders article. I hate that title, but...
Yeah. So couldn't write this stuff, I guess. It's better than fiction. It's better. It's amazing. But let's get back to our stories and our news. So the July issue dropped a couple of weeks ago. So I want to, and also, stuff that you've written in July so far. So do you guys want to let me know? Let's start with Mike, because I know that you had an interesting weekend essay.
Yeah, I did. I was kind of, this came from some work that Technical Connection did about the advice market, the state of the advice market. And the stereotype of the advice market is that advisors tend to go for clients who are older and wealthier, have the mortgages paid off, have nice DB pensions. And the technical connection research basically found that that's true in their figures. And the research is making the point, Phil Wickenden and Tony Wickenden, who both did the research, were making the point that at some point there's a cliff edge of advice because the very kind of wealthier clients who have paid off their mortgages, have ownership, have DB pensions, that they will eventually die off, and that wealth won't be there anymore. And so it's in the interest for financial advisors to become more interested in attracting younger and less wealthy clients. But advisors don't seem too interested in that. So I just wrote a weekend essay off the back of that, saying that advisors need to stop being complacent, and they need to work a bit harder and realise that this great kind of change is coming, and they can't be immune to it. And I just got loads of online comments saying that I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not an advisor. Have I ever run a business? Which is well, it's all fair enough. So I'm glad though that it kind of got that response, because I was trying to prompt some dialogue or just prod them a bit, and you know, they always kind of rise to the occasion, otherwise when they're prodded.
I find that when you kind of poke the old guard, they're very quick to be like, hey, you don't know. You have no idea what you're talking about. How dare you question my choices? But you know, if you don't question people, how will we make any change or progress?
I also think a lot of people are on the other side and do agree with what you were saying, Mike. So for example, I was talking to Jonathan Pollin at Sanlam Wealth, currently called Sanlam Wealth anyway. I don't think it will be when the podcast comes out. But anyway, he was saying that one of the things the company wants to do, because it's separated from Sanlam Investments now, it wants to be more hybrid, so bring in a lot more digital advice. And he said that would bring in the younger generation of clients, because when they've got simpler needs, they'll be able to do more digitally. And then as their needs perhaps get more complex and they accumulate more wealth, then they'll get to speak to an advisor face to face more. So that's one of the ways he sees that happening, bringing in younger clients, is by doing more digital to go with face to face advice. So.
That's true, because I guess I don't want to talk to someone all the time. Sometimes I just want to look at something. Yeah,
if you just need to know a quick thing about what investments you should be making or something, then maybe going digital. But then if you have more complex needs and you want to know what to do with your money more in depth, speak to an advisor face to face. Yeah, I guess having that hybrid option is pretty good. And I think I've been talking to quite a few advisors who are diverse and younger, and a lot of them keep saying how they want to do more to attract younger people into the oppression into the profession, as well as attract younger clients. Yeah, I think bringing younger advisors in probably will help younger clients. Yeah, because I guess you relate to who you know, I guess. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you want to target a specific market, a specific niche. Yeah. So there just needs to be more advisors, I guess. Exactly. And I guess this will perhaps be a thing that will be emerging in more conversations on your new podcast. So I've launched the In Conversation With podcast series, where I talk to financial advisors and paraplanners and money coaches, financial coaches as well. Very interesting. I get to hear a lot of different stories about how they got into the why do I keep wanting to say oppression? It is not. It is not an oppression to be in this job. It's like some weird Freudian thing. Sorry. Profession. Into the profession. All of them seem very happy with it. It's not an oppression for them. And the ways in which they have got into the profession is very varied. Oh, God. Yeah. Right. I know, but it's just, I wouldn't have chosen that if I was writing. But yeah, it's very interesting to listen to their stories and listen to how they relate to their clients and listen to where they see the industry moving and
how they market themselves, what they're trying to do for their local communities, I think is really interesting. Quite a few people are talking to like either, you know, if they're churchgoers, they go to their churches and they speak about their profession and they speak about their services so they're able to help their local communities, or they go into their local schools and they like, you know, kind of allow kids to know, because when I was in my A-levels, I just knew about the basic professions. You know, I wanted to be a doctor. Would have been a terrible doctor. So good thing I was here.
I would have been a terrible vet.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's good that they're putting themselves out there and doing these different things, because I think when you are from a different generation, you think differently, you think more laterally maybe, and you're able to, you know, speak to people. And I know, Mamadou, you've been looking at a new term for me, Generation Alpha.
Yeah, Generation Alpha, yeah.
Didn't even think of them as a concept
indeed,
yet.
Exactly. I mean, when I joined, the sector, the word that was kind of like the buzzword was, Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
Gen Z.
Yeah, but now, it seems like there's some far...
Yeah, they're already with us, Generation Z, right?
Yes. So now Generation Alpha, and that's from 2010 to date, you know.
Okay.
So these are the young ones, that's, spend time online and, you know, and do everything online. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
especially after the pandemic where everything was online. So they're probably more comfortable there.
Exactly. And then the conference I went to, a couple of weeks ago, that was the point. They were making that advisors, should kind of like change their game and kind of like be more out there, you know, engage them on TikTok, you know, on Instagram, you know, online, because that's where this young...
That's where their eyes are.
Exactly, you know. And they're making money because, they also, kind of like influencers online.
Yeah.
You know, having advertisement. And they have money. And if they don't get the right advice, they might just blow it up.
Money.
Exactly, you know. So, so that's one area, you know, I think advisors, should kind of look at, you know.
Yeah.
Become TikTokers, you know.
It works for like Robin Allen, who is the first person I spoke to, and she uses TikTok and she posts her TikToks on LinkedIn a lot, and she gets a lot of engagement from that, because I think people are like, oh, my financial advisor can look like that. Exactly. She talks about quite on a daily basis, like what she actually does is quite grim because she's a protection only advisor. So she's kind of talking about, okay, so, you know, if you die or if something terrible happens to you, you need to, you know, protect yourself. But she's able to get that message across in a fun way. So I think, you need to move out of your comfort zone, possibly.
Indeed.
Yeah. So Amanda, what did you cover in July that stood out to you?
Well, I wrote a leader. I don't often do leaders, but on the rare occasion where I thought I've actually got something that I want to say. So I looked at whether financial advice firms need to look beyond finance and economics graduates when they're recruiting, because, you know, I just feel that if they do, they're more likely to attract more women. Mm-hmm. This came from speaking to an advisor called Megan Jenkins, who works at Saltus. And she studied A-level economics and banking and finance at degree level at university. Mm-hmm. And she said that the higher she went in terms of the qualifications in subjects like this, you know, that there were fewer women. And I was thinking, well, this kind of has implications for financial advice firms because, you know, I get that there is a direct link, I suppose, between finance and economics and that sort of thing and financial advice because it's sort of finance. But, you know, you are limiting yourself to a certain pool if, you know, women are not choosing certain subjects and whatever. That's not to say, you know, this does need to change long term, but I think you know, it's going to take time because you need to look at, you know, why women are not choosing these subjects and do a bit of research around that and make them more attractive. But, you know, as I say, this is not going to happen overnight. So what do we do in the meantime? And, you know, it was interesting speaking to Megan because she was saying that one of the best advisors at her firm actually studied film. And I just think that gives an example that we don't always, you know, do jobs that are related to our degrees. I mean, I know someone that got a first in chemistry, amazing mind, but, you know, he works for a car manufacturer in management. I suppose because for something like that, you can only teach it or, you know, get, you know, do it as a research thing. But I just thought that was really interesting. But I noticed online, not everyone agrees with me. There is this kind of sector of the advice market that's welded to, you know, you must have, you know, degree in finance and whatever. And when they go into the universities, they're the students that they're targeting. They're not targeting everyone. They're targeting this particular strand. So
I think you're missing out on such a huge pool of people, like such potential. Like, I'm someone who didn't do what my degree was. I
think of financial journalists, like how many financial journalists have degrees in?
I mean, that's
in finance, yeah, exactly.
Or
journalism, or even English.
That's the same with me, Mike. I mean, I spend my time, doing filmmaking, you know. I mean, spend all this time, reading all this, you know, wonderful filmmakers, and I'm here writing about.
And also when
pension and platform and protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also when you're thinking of like generational, I think, you know, there's been studies that show like millennials will change jobs quite regularly, and not just that, but change career paths.
No, indeed.
Yeah.
So like you can't just you can use the degree to say, look, I study, I work hard, and if I apply my mind, I can, you know, get this certain grade. But I think anyone is capable of kind of moving into different professions if they're passionate about it. And I don't think it necessarily has to be that you studied this at degree level, because how many of us actually remember everything we studied at university? So yeah.
Then the skills are transferable, you know. So
exactly.
I think that's the key, you know. I mean, you can study, you know, theology, you know, and then become a fine journalist, you know. I mean, a very good journalist or a very good accountant. It doesn't matter.
One of my old colleagues, she studied philosophy, and now she's a very successful financial journalist. So
there you go.
Can you become a doctor or a car engineer with a diploma in journalism, though?
Probably if you get a PhD. You mean like a physical?
No, that's a specialist.
It was a provocation.
You can
like
just
pilots. Those are specialist areas, you know.
And you can just become a doctor of journalism. So yeah, if someone on a plane says we need a doctor, you'll be like, in journalism, yeah, sure. Not helpful, but there are people who do go back to university and study medicine. I mean, it's going to take up a massive chunk of your life. But I know some 40-year-olds that have gone back to make that dream happen. So anything is possible. But was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. As I'd mentioned last month, this month I have already worked on a piece to mark 50 years of Pride. I spoke to a trans advisor called Jamie Lowe, and Jamie's also non-binary, and it was quite interesting seeing the perspective from, you know, other sections of the LGBT plus community, not just gay and lesbian advisors. I think as a journalist, it's quite easy to kind of think, exactly, you know, that may be easier to speak to and whatever, but I think it's important to get all voices in there. So that was interesting because, you know, it was all about making assumptions about people. You know, you just shouldn't do that. And Jamie was making the point that this is not an issue just for the LGBT plus community. It's for everyone. We shouldn't make assumptions about everyone. But, you know, as I say, it was an eye-opening, the fact that, you know, as someone who identifies as non-binary, Jamie has had problems, you know, just getting insurance that, you know, people would just take for granted. And the reason being, you know, it's few insurance firms adopt the MX title, you know, that's gender neutral. And, you know, you could say, you know, advisors might very well say, you know, does this really matter? Can you just sort of call yourself something just to fill the form in? But I think that kind of misses the point. Many of these people have struggled to kind of, you know, be known who they really are. And it strikes at the heart of identity. So to just say that is quite dismissive. So, you know, I think it was quite an eye-opener for me.
I think that argument is like, you can flip it on its side, like flip it the other way and just say, but why does it matter you having to also adjust to this? You know, like people who are resistant to use them and they, it's like, is it that much more difficult than saying, you know, other pronouns? Or, you know, you can, that argument works both ways. So I don't think
exactly. So what difference does it make if you include the MX? You know, it's not that much work, presumably.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying it doesn't strike me as that much work to kind of just stick MX on a form and then you cover all your bases and are more inclusive.
Yeah.
But yeah, can I also mention another little one before we move on? I also looked at whether you can plan for divorce. You know, as an advisor, you get sort of people coming in, divorcing, and it is a big area of financial planning. But I kind of took a step back and thought, you know, rather than kind of wait till couples are potentially warring and at each other's throats, you know, could you kind of chuck that in as a potential, you know, like when we talk about protection and the worst possibly happen and whatever. And it's never an easy conversation for advisors to have, but it's an important one. I mean, could we do the same about divorce? And I've kind of, in this feature, I look at, you know, the legal side, whether you can do sort of prenups and postnups and whether these are just the preserve of the wealthy. Apparently not, which surprised me.
Yeah.
But I also looked at the financial planning that advisors can do in the run-up to any pension sharing orders, because that's quite an important thing as well. So, you know, you can get all your ducks in a row before you actually go to the courts to say, you know, this is what we want to do, and they'll just kind of rubber stamp it, you know, in a lot of cases. But I have to say that some of the comments that, you know, we've got online have been mixed about this. You know, some saying it's a useful article, and others are saying, I think, you know, one advisor said, you know, this is sick. You know, this is if people. It was.
Why did he find it sick?
Just people shouldn't divorce. They should think about things before they get married, was his argument.
Exactly. You know, don't get married unless you're really kind of serious.
So Harry would prefer just to have a bunch of cohabiting couples out there.
I don't think
is that what he's supporting?
I don't think so. I think, you know, traditionally, you know, you kind of, you know, fall in love and marrying whatever. But I think
what
it's
he says is that if you're super unhappy in your marriage, just
stay
stick it
there.
out.
Exactly. You know?
Oh, no,
you
not,
signed a
not
legal
at all.
contract.
To be fair, I think the argument was more, you know, it's quite bad in poor taste to kind of discuss this before the actual event as a potential. I don't think it was kind of, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I understand the romantic concept of being like, no, we're going to stay together forever. But, you know, people change.
Life happens.
Life happens. So I don't think it's callous to be like, let's just make sure that our assets are protected. Whatever we brought in is separate, whatever. I think you can still make it romantic somehow. I'll think
a lot of creativity for that one, Kim.
I'll think of a way to make it romantic, guys.
Future weekend essay. Kim.
Exactly.
Feature screen. I'll write a play, and you can direct it from the moment.
Cover the prenup in rose petals. There's the one.
Yeah, and
That's a good one.
you can also like say.
I thought about that one.
You know, you get to keep all the gifts I gave you. Something I don't know. I'll think about it more in depth. But yeah, that was a very interesting. I found it useful for someone who's yet to get married. So just another like a food for thought. Anyway, so JB,
me,
what did you cover in July? That was
so I had an interesting discussion with Vanguard about model portfolio service. And they forecasted that more and more asset managers will delve into this market. And it kind of built on different conversation I've had since I done money marketing, so approximately 1.5 years ago, that advisors are increasingly shifting away from investment and outsourcing this process. Okay. What I've noticed is, over this, as I said, 1.5 years, that you see asset managers, but also large wealth manager firms launching their own in-house MPS that they also sell to smaller advisor firms. So yeah, I found it interesting because, as I said, it seems an increasing number of advisors don't really get involved with investment anymore. So they outsource this to a third party.
Why is that?
That's a good question that I didn't think.
Too much hard work.
Well, if you think about it, it doesn't. It's
no
not,
offense. I'm not trying to get anyone
If you think about it, advisors have to cover a lot of things.
Yeah.
And also, I think RDR also plays a role in this.
Okay.
there's often this concept that the profession has moved away from selling products to actually planning for, for the future of the clients.
Yeah.
So perhaps in this context, or with these new rules, it's harder to sell investment products.
Okay.
And also there's a rise of DIY investment, and that's not, if I was an advisor, I would like to get tips on investment, but it seems an increasing number of people are also keener on doing their own investment.
Yeah, they have Reddit to
Yeah.
advise them, which I don't think is a better option. I don't know. But is there anything else anyone wanted to talk about for July?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, JV.
So, it's rather looking ahead rather than a rear mirror, but I've received a lot of information about QROPs, which are somehow pension scheme for British expats living outside of the UK.
Right.
Obviously. And from my understanding, it's an area that's not really regulated because the FCA has no authority over it. And it's quite a Wild West, if you see what I mean. So apparently scams are quite regular, and it's a bit problematic because, you're from the UK, you move to another country, you want to have your pension, you want to benefit from it because you worked hard for it.
Yeah.
And some shady advice firm, but I won't name for the moment.
Keep posted. We'll name and shame next time.
We will see.
Okay.
Just targeting you and, selling you products at an extorted price, or, things that are not in the client's interest, but rather in the advisor interest. They charge high, products with charges, with high charges, etc.
Because there's no regulation. Is there no regulation because the FCA can't be like, if you're in Dubai, for example, they can't control. Exactly.
So technically it's at the, you kind of at the mercy of the local regulator, and it depends on what rules they have in place. So that's a fairly new topic to me. So I'm still exploring it and learning as I go, but I'm by no means an expert on this.
Yeah. Sounds interesting though. I'd never thought of the concept of how people can get scammed as expats. You just think if you're an expat, you're living the life.
From what I understand, it's not what those firms are doing is not illegal. Yeah. They're just because there is a saying
there's a loophole.
Yeah, there is a saying that law has nothing to do with moral. So it's not really moral, but it's not illegal most of the times, from what I understand.
So let's look at August. Hopefully August will be a quiet month.
Famous last words.
I know.
Yeah. I've said that a few summers ago, and it wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, the dramatics can continue probably into August, but I know you guys have been working on the August issue, so can you give a sneak preview into what is to come out? Who's writing the cover feature?
Me, and I have to say it's my first cover, so I'm really excited.
I'm excited to hear all about it. Well, only a little bit right now, and then we can go more in depth next month.
Okay. Well, yeah, I will try to contain my excitement and not give too much away in that case. So the subject, it's not actually one that I know a great deal about, so it's even more kind of like a moment for me. But I'm writing about whether modern platforms are fit for purpose, and this kind of almost sort of dropped in my lap because I've had a couple of advisors talk about the terrible service they've been having from their platform providers, and I wanted to look at why this is happening and kind of relate it to the future. Where do we go beyond here? Where have we been? Where have we come from? And what's going on now, and what does the future hold? But it's just interesting, kind of balancing the platform's perspectives and the reasons that they're, you know, struggling to do X, Y, and Z with the demands of the advisors. Because what I have learned, and I can probably sort of just say this, that, you know, there have been more demands on platforms from advisors, you know, since the market, you know, sort of came into being in about 2000. So gradually, you know, they've been asked to do more and more, you know, which is quite right, because as, you know, the world's become more digital and whatever, you know, it is probably the natural place for advisors to look for this. But I won't say too much about, you know, what I found out, you know, in terms of the reasons and whatever. But it's just sort of interesting because it's kind of, you know, a mix of interests and whatever. And I think that kind of makes it an even more knotty problems kind of unpick because you've got all competing interests in there.
Yeah.
But can I also mention another feature that I am writing? I'm looking at the In Focus piece this month, looking at why female advisors are launching businesses in their 40s. Because again, that kind of came to me from an advisor who was anecdotally seeing a lot of this. But it's interesting to see the reasons why, you know, women have more experience at this point in their lives. You know, children tend to be out of nappies and more independent stage. And women just sort of have more time for themselves and to sort of, you know, take stock and think, you know, what do I want out of life at this point? So I've got some interesting stories in there and I just wanted to sort of flag that up because they are very interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's always interesting when I read your stuff. Everyone's stuff. I love everyone's stuff. No favoritism over here. Momadou, what about you? Is there anything you would like to take out?
Yes, I mean, I think for the August issue, I'm doing the money marketing myths. So I went to speak to the new CEO of LifeSearch, Debbie Kennedy. And that was a very good interview we had, you know.
Was it indoor or outdoor this time?
No, indoor, yeah. Okay. Indoor, you know. I mean, thank God for a change, you know, because outdoor was
challenging.
Even though the pictures were nice.
Yeah.
Very lovely.
Very crucial detail.
Pardon me?
Very crucial detail.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was nice, but that was tiring. Yeah, but this was done in a very controlled environment, by an office space, you know. Yeah, so we had a lengthy chat, you know, about her taking over, I mean, LifeSearch from Tom Bakery. So, I mean, Tom Bakery founded LifeSearch in 1998. Wow. Yeah, and I know. So for the past 2 decades, LifeSearch has been, I mean, Tom Bakery and LifeSearch has been kind of like, I mean, one and the same, you know, you know, kind of stuff, you know. So Debbie is, I mean, stepping into take, I mean, LifeSearch further. So I wanted to know, I mean, her plans and, I mean, kind of like her, I mean, vision for, I mean, LifeSearch chapter. I mean, Tom, you know, so that was what I did. And then I'm also doing a comment piece also on Massa.
Okay.
Massa, I mean,
you've had a lot of top 10 stories with
no, well, because of Massa, yes, exactly. I mean, because, I mean, I think Massa, you know, has been treating pension savers terribly, you know, you know, with...
Allegedly.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
just throw in the blanket allegedly.
Well, yeah. No, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
No, well, maybe. I mean, I've been following the story. I mean, for the past 10 months now. You know, so I mean, and my dealing with Massa, you know, has been also terrible. You know, I mean, kind of.
Yes. Have you got through personally yet?
Pardon me?
Have you personally been able to get through to Massa?
It's been awful. It's been very difficult. So, I mean, to get someone to speak to, someone to kind of like speak to you to, to address the issue.
Yeah.
There's always kind of like, I mean, deflection and delay, time wasting and other stuff, you know. So, many pension savers, you know, I mean, from afar, I feel as Australia, you know, have contacted me, to complain about, Massa, you know. So yeah, I mean, I'm doing a piece, to kind of like, ask, you know, that's something should be done about, this, you know, I think, you know, ASAP, you know, because I think that's unfair, you know, if you've spent all your life working and the time for you to access your money and then you keep having all these, delays, that's unfair. And many people are facing hardship
and all you are trying to do is get their comment and they can't even do that. Exactly. So God knows what they're doing with people's money.
Exactly. And they always have this, the stock comments, no comment on a particular case, you know.
So maybe after this comment piece, they might feel the need to
No, I think
do
they
a
should.
rebuttal.
No, I think they should. I mean, they should worry about reputational damage. For them, because we've been kind. So and it's like they don't care. And in this day and age, I think
your reputation.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Mike, is there anything that you're working on for August, or anything that you have coming out?
No, not imminently.
Yeah, well, as acting editor, you're overseeing everything that is currently being talked about. So
indeed.
I understand that's a lot.
No, but it's all good. So a lot of the August issues already in, and it's gone over. So I'm happy with it. How it's shaping up.
Okay.
So it's looking good.
It might we're not talking about this story, but how have you been finding it, stepping into Katie's shoes and being acting editor?
Definitely, it's been an education the past 4 weeks now, 5 weeks now. So yeah, a lot of new, interesting, things that I'm learning. But it's good, and it's become a bit calmer.
Yeah,
which is very, very welcome, because the first sort of 48 hours are a bit.
Katie, come back!
yeah, but it's just you get into a rhythm, and that thing. So just more things now. So it's I'm sort of learning a bit more about the event side of things.
Let's slip in a plug for MMI.
So money marketing. Yeah, it's Thursday, 29th of September.
Yeah.
At Hounds.
ETC Houndsworth.
ETC Houndsditch 133. It's got a very distinctive address.
Yeah.
And that's probably the other thing that we should mention, is that the shortlist has
also been released
has been dropped, awards. and the winners will be announced on the evening. We are currently going through the
judging
process now.
Yes. We're not going to reveal any spoilers.
Yeah, so everything is confidential until the evening.
Yeah.
And for the first time, this is also when we're doing money marketing interactive London during the day, and the awards in the evening at the same place. So previously, we would do MMI London, and then we'd do the awards at a separate venue and day and evening, and this time we're doing it together.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a hectic day for us, but I think it's going to be amazing for everyone who attends. Lois, was there anything you did for the August issue, or that's coming out in August?
I am writing 2 features for the August issue. One of them's for our financial advisor to be section, and that's about advisor academies, which more and more advice firms seem to be opening and concentrating on. So I had a chat with M&G Wealth's partnerships director, Tom Hegarty, and they want to boost their advisor numbers in their business from 400 currently to 1,000 over the next few years.
Wow.
And one of the ways they're going to be doing that is by trying to encourage more new recruits into their academy, which launched last September with 15 trainees, and they want to increase this to 96 trainees a year.
Wow.
So off the back of that, I've written, or am writing, a feature about academies more generally, because I think quite a lot of financial advisors, they used to get their training from the banks when banks did financial advisor training, but when RDR came in, the banks stopped doing that because they separated themselves from advice. So that training sort of avenue was cut off. So then SJP, Amanda wrote a piece about SJP's academy, which I think opened 10 years ago.
That's correct, Lois. Yeah.
And this is kind of an extension of that, what other advice firms are doing.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because you're just kind of filtering people through.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously you don't get financial advice training at school or anything like that. So.
And it, in terms of like your own firm, it encourages loyalty. For my employee benefits background, I know that a lot of like people like to do like apprenticeships and stuff like that because it encouraged people to stay because they know that they can be taken care of by a particular place and they're more likely to stay around. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, so it should be an interesting feature. And my other one is I went to meet the Doddle monster.
I saw.
Pronouns are they, them.
Yep.
And I am writing a feature about mascots and whether financial institutions should use them. And I think in AJ Bell's case, it's definitely worked, but perhaps in other cases,
DWP
hasn't been so
Worky,
successful.
hated DWP Worky.
Lots of people hated Worky.
Worky was.
Don't know why, just...
It
Got a
was
cute little face, though.
There was an FOI about how many millions or hundreds of thousands of pounds DWP spent on Worky. It's the most expensive furry mascot ever. It was like...
It's
not the best use of taxpayers' money.
I think it was probably just timing. People were just not happy in general. So just being like, hey, we've got this funny little monster over here.
I think people thought it was making light of quite an important, serious issue.
Yeah.
But that's not... so the point of the Doddle monster, who's been received very warmly, is that they are supposed to be making investing less scary.
Oh, I like that concept. I like it.
Yeah.
And it also they look very cute.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And they might be going for pensions minister. They tweeted saying they were expressing their interest.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I love that. I know they'd get my vote, whatever that counts for. Check that out. I think this was a really long conversation. I loved talking to you guys. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition Money Marketing magazine, so make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.